So today, the thing which we wanted to deliver, the key thing was that we are in the middle of the digital transformation and helping companies go through that. So how are we working with those companies? What is the value they are seeing? And especially both on the financial side as they migrate into the cloud. And also, it's not just about the financial, it is like how the companies themselves are transforming and taking advantage of the breakthrough innovation that has happened in the cloud itself.
I see.
So cover two topics, both the financial and return on investments, and as well as the digital transformation through breakthrough technology.
So the business side as well as technical side.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's start with the business side then.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I would say I feel very lucky that that I see and contribute as companies are going through the digital transformation. And as you know, like the data is exploding, growing at an exponential rate. According to one of the studies, like we actually generate close to 2 megabytes per second per human on this earth, which is a lot of data. And we see that there are companies who are taking advantage of that, and then there are companies who are resisting because of the inertia. And I think the role we play is that we work with those companies and help them overcome their inertia as they make the journey into the cloud.
I see.
And the one thing which we have seen is that there is, as I said, a lot of data being generated and a lot of data platforms which are available out there. So how do you go and accelerate that transformation, but also make sure that you have the flexibility and elasticity and choice of platforms as you go through that transformation? And there is no better place than Azure when it comes to that, because although like I'm a SQL person at heart, I run the SQL business, but if you come to our cloud, like once your data is in the cloud, you have so many options and choices in terms of which platforms to use to have your company go through that digital transformation.
I see. So once you migrate, you can do so much of innovation.
Absolutely. Like sometimes people think of migrate is like, oh, is it a CapEx discussion that I don't have to go and build new data centers and buy hardware? It is absolutely about that, but it is much more. It is about like once you come into the cloud, how you can totally change the way you do business.
I see.
And that is where we see companies getting excited and seeing the return of their investments. And as you bring and layer in the AI on top of once the data is in there, and AI also has multiple facets. It's like how companies are applying AI on their data, how we are applying AI to run better services for you and give you the maximum return on your investment. So it goes both ways.
So it's a nice combination, data, cloud, and AI all together.
Absolutely, and again, like we actually, like there is a study from Keystone where they actually went out and talked to the companies who are going through this digital transformation, and what they saw was that the companies in the top quartile, they are almost had huge advantage and able to almost double their return on the or the operating margin for their companies.
I see.
So it is proved by examples. It is proved by studies. It is very clear that if you keep sitting where you are and worried about the inertia that it takes for migrating to the cloud, you are missing a lot out there. And it is part of this whole digital feedback loop, if you say, which is like you have to look at the data which is being generated by your own products, by social media, by the sensors which are out there, and then you use that data to build the right products. And once you have those products and you hand over to the customers, how that digital feedback loop continues, so that you can continuously improve the products that you have built. And now companies are using the same data to improve their support, provide better and intelligent insights for their customers, and improve their products as they go along.
So it's an awesome cycle.
Yeah, it's a continuous cycle, but it starts where you have to be you have to remove yourself from the restrictions of like, I'm sitting on a specific hardware, I'm restricted to a platform that I bought a long time back. You have to be in an environment where the worry is your business, and it's not about how you can go and get the best hardware or best platform and how you go and innovate on the product itself. Like you have to give all that responsibility to Microsoft and focus on your business.
All right.
So yeah, I just want to quickly talk about two companies which I personally helped in their journey. The first one is the Allscript.
Okay.
They are in the healthcare
Yeah.
environment, and they serve close to 180,000 physicians, over 2,000 hospitals.
Okay.
And as they did the migration into the cloud, as you can imagine, being in the healthcare, the paramount focus they had and the concern they had was how will we protect their data. And they were totally blown away in terms of how Azure protects their data, both in terms of having the highest certification, whether it is HIPAA or SOC and others, and also how we handle each customer's data. So as in their journey, they were able to move thousands of VMs using Azure Site Recovery. So very simple migration with almost no downtime. Once they landed in the cloud, then they continuously are innovating.
Yes.
And now many of their SQL servers are actually running in the PaaS environment using advantage of the SQL managed instance.
Okay.
And that shows that the move into the cloud just opens up possibilities. So now they can do machine learning on top of their data, they can do advanced logic on top of that data, and now they don't have to worry how fast their business is growing or any spikes they are getting in there because of the elasticity that is built in both in the cloud but on the each service level, where they can go from a half a node SQL server to an 80 node SQL server running in no time, and then you can have dedicated rings which are deployed for them to fully secure their data.
So basically migrate to innovate.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
The second one I briefly want to touch is the paychecks, and again, as the name says that they are in the business of the time cards, and every day like 13 million time cards are punched. So clock in, clock out, clock in, clock out, and they directly actually migrated into SQL managed instance, and for them the key thing was zero downtime. They cannot afford even a second of the downtime. Imagine you come to work and you can't scan your badge. So
or not getting a paycheck,
or
even.
not getting the paycheck, or an incorrect one. So for them it was the reliability and how they were able to both reduce their capex as well as their opex, because now they are running SQL in a fully PaaS environment, which means we take care of everything for you.
The patching and everything.
Patching, upgrades, providing intelligent insight in terms of how their query is performing. So their DBAs are actually very happy because now they can focus on the business and not worry about in the middle of the night, I will get a call and then I have to worry about why a query was working fine and suddenly there is some issue with the performance of the application.
Okay.
So totally transform their business as part of migrating into the cloud.
Very cool.
The last thing I want to briefly touch is that these are just one-off examples, but there is a lot of study out there, and this is one example where this is done by Forrester, where they actually looked at it like absolutely there is upfront cost involved in migration, and Microsoft has various programs which is actually helping offset that cost as well, and AMP is one of their program which we will cover at some point more in detail. But even if you think about all the money that you have to put, the study shows that the return on investments, break even happens in 6 months, and by 3 years the return on investment is over 200%. So it is not only the digital transformation of the company which sets you well for many years to come, but it is also about the immediate return, because you right away save on your capex, you reduce your opex by a huge margin, and as a result, your total operating cost goes down significantly.
I see.
And we have a link in there. People can read more. And as I said, this is clearly shows both working with customers as well as through the studies, huge benefit as people do the migration into the cloud.
So on this slide, I see this. Basically 40%? This 40% number is very intriguing. I used to be a DBA before.
Yeah.
So what sort of administration savings are creating this 40% increase in DBA productivity?
Yeah, I think the first thing to understand is that having a full control on the end-to-end for Microsoft on the stack is very important.
Yeah.
Like you can go and run absolutely the SQL Server on any cloud or any hardware. But here we fully control the database, the machines on which we are running the operating system, and we have optimized this SQL Server for Azure. Not only that, the other thing is that we have built a lot of intelligence into the database itself on how we go and understand your query plans, how we apply indices or drop them if there is a regression in the query performance. And we take care of all the administrative work that a DBA does. Doesn't mean that the DBA has nothing. Like they can now focus on the business and figure out how they can go and build their data state and grow it and define the right schema and share that data with their analytics teams and do more AI and advanced analytics on top of that. But the basic overhead to save, which was not about having positive impact on your business, but more about like the limitations of the platform.
Yeah.
All of those goes away as you move into the cloud.
I see the patching, the maintenance part, and all that is easy. Okay.
Exactly.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Asad, for this great information about business side of things.
Thank you, Sanjay.